True believers. He left me all alone out here. I thought he'd be with me. Oh man, I'm alone. Well, I'll do the best I can. It's scary. I have to say, I was asked to talk to you about reading. Well, that would be like going to a banker's convention and explaining to them about money. What the hell can I tell you about reading that you don't know 1,000 times better than I do? But I'm stuck up here, you're stuck down there, we'll do the best we can. Reading is very good. And you can quote me. Yes, I read as a child. I read as a teenager. I read as an adult. Don't read as much now because my eyes have gone back on me, but I still remember what fun it was to read. And I think I was also asked to talk about the relevancy and the importance of comic books in the matter of reading, and I'd like to mention one thing. Comic books for kids, years ago, were not thought of very highly. And when I say years ago, I'm going back to the 50s, because frankly, most of them were not all that well written. Most of the publishers, and I know because I worked for one, said, all I want is a lot of action and fight scenes. Don't worry about dialogue and characterization and all that nonsense. Give me fight scenes, that's what my kids like. So there were a lot of fight scenes in the comics in those days. And parents didn't want their kids, a lot of parents, to read comic books. When I was writing them, I myself got kind of sick of the kind of things that I was asked to write. So in around 1960, I decided I would quit and do something legitimate. My wife said to me, she's a wonderful person, she said to me, you know, Stan, if you want to quit anyway, why don't you write one book the way you think a comic ought to be done? And you'll get fired, but so what? You want to do it. So I tried what I wanted to do with a book called The Fantastic Four. I tried to give them personalities. I tried to be careful with the dialogue. I had every one of them speaking differently than every other, different speech pattern, you might say. And I tried to get a story that was really a story. I didn't get fired. The book sold very well. And my publisher, who was no idiot, came to me and said, why don't you do a few more like that? So then we did the X-Men and the Hulk and so forth. And we were off to something. But I got to tell you about those early days when people hated comics. My name, I was not born Stan Lee. My name was Stanley Martin Lieber, a real normal name. And I was so embarrassed to do comics that I cut my first name in half. I signed him Stan Lee. I didn't want people to know what I was doing. I'd go to a party, somebody would say to me, hi, how are you? What do you do? Uh-oh. I'd say, oh, I'm a writer, and I'd walk away. They'd follow me. What do you write? Oh, children's stories, and I'd walk a little faster. But they'd keep up with me. What kind of children's stories? At some point, I had to say comics. They would whirl around, and they were gone. Now, at a party, when was it? Just the other night, when someone said, excuse me, President Obama, I think I see Stan Lee. It's a slight exaggeration. Now, let me tell you why comics today which are much better written, and graphic novels really are good for kids for reading. A youngster picks up a comic book and is intrigued and interested because of the exciting drawings, the pictures. Starts to read the dialogue. Some of the dialogue he or she doesn't understand. The words might be too big for them. But they can't enjoy the story without knowing what that says. So they'll ask their parents, what does that word mean? They'll go to a dictionary. It's not the worst thing that can happen. I have had so many parents and so many teachers tell me how grateful they are to comics because they have helped interest kids in reading and helped made them better readers. And I'm not responsible for all the comics, so I don't deserve any praise for that, but it was really good to hear. And now, I would like to tell you a story about William Shakespeare. And you're saying, what the hell has that got? In the olden days, people would say to me, I don't want my kid reading comics because it stifles his imagination. Why should he look at a picture when he should be reading a book when it describes the scene? Now that's a valid point, I guess, but getting back to Shakespeare. Have you ever heard anybody say, wow, they're having Hamlet on the stage and Marlon Brando is playing Hamlet, or Laurence Olivier, because I'm mentioning people you probably don't even remember. Can you imagine anybody saying, oh no, I'm not going to go see the show because it'll stifle our imagination? So it's really not a valid. And as you can tell by the way I speak to you, I only deal in valid points. Now, I think I was also supposed to say that I read a lot, because that's supposed to inspire people. Of course I read a lot. You all read a lot. Everybody reads a lot. We should read a lot. And libraries are the most wonderful places in the world. When I was a kid, I couldn't afford to buy the books I wanted, but 3 blocks away there was a public library. And man, to me, it was a magic place. I could go there, I could get a book by Mark Twain, I could get something by anybody, Edgar Rice Burroughs. Who wrote The Raven? I forget his name, my favorite. Whoever the hell he was, he's my favorite. And I know the whole Raven by heart, too. Next time I come here, if you invite me, I'll recite it all. But anybody I wanted, there was the book. I walk in, I give them the card, they stamp the card, I take the book home, it's mine for a few days, and I can read it. So, man, I respect you librarians so much, and I think what you do is such a valuable thing, and what you offer the people is such a valuable thing. And thank you very much. I don't know if I'm supposed to be interrupted at this point by somebody saying, okay, that's enough, or if I'm supposed to keep talking. Looks like nobody is interrupting me.
Do go on.
Maybe I can talk about comics then. You know, one of my favorite, speaking of comics, as you may or may not know, I do a lot of cameos in the movies that are based on comics. Favorite cameos is where I play a librarian. I shouldn't call it a cameo. It was really, I think of it as a co-starring role. What do they know? So anyway, I'm in the library and I'm stamping books and I have earphones on and I'm listening to music and I'm going like that. And Spider-Man and the Lizard, I think it's the Lizard, are having a life and death fight behind me, but I don't know because I'm doing the books. Now, everybody thought that was just a comedic moment, but nobody realized the great social and educational significance about that, and I'm going to let you in on it. And you probably hadn't thought of it before. What we were really telling the viewing public was, Books are so important, and they're so all engulfing. When you read a book, you wouldn't even know it if somebody is fighting. The book is very important. So you see, in my own way, in my own subtle way, I'm carrying the torch for reading.